Welcome to this explainer. Today, I'm going to put on my executive mentor hat because we are tackling what is absolutely the most fundamental trait of top-tier business minds, successful leaders, and really just high achievers in general: unshakable self-reliance. Let me ask you something. Have you ever noticed that your motivation instantly evaporates the second a team member or a workout partner bails on you? It happens to the best of us. But here's the reality. If you constantly need someone else to start a project, crack open a textbook, or hit the gym, you are basically outsourcing your success. So today, we're acting as your career coach. We're going to diagnose that dependency step by step and rewire your mindset for total executive-level autonomy.
Okay, let's dive right in. We've got 5 main phases in today's diagnostic guide. We'll kick things off with the consensus trap, explore the fascinating neuroscience of autonomy, and then I'll have you take your own personal independent scorecard. After that, we'll break down some role-specific strategies, and finally, wrap up with a strict 30-day challenge to build real mental endurance.
All right, starting off with Section 1, the consensus trap.
You know, as humans, we're naturally social creatures. We seek out a community because, frankly, it lowers our fear and makes difficult tasks feel a whole lot easier. But there's a massive hidden cost to this. If your ability to take action is completely tied to having other people around, your motivation is incredibly fragile. Let's look at how this plays out in high-pressure corporate environments. On one side, we have the consensus seeker. Their decision-making is painfully slow because they need constant social support. They rely on endless meetings to validate their ideas, basically outsourcing their risk. Now compare that to the autonomous leader. These folks bypass the office politics and make rapid, resilient executive decisions entirely in isolation. They've built this powerful internal engine of self-motivation. Their progress doesn't just suddenly halt because the room is empty.
There is a fantastic quote that brilliantly illustrates this balance. The capacity to walk alone and the art of taking people along. Both are necessary. And that really hits the nail on the head. True leadership isn't about isolating yourself and refusing to collaborate. It's about having the raw, underlying power to initiate action alone when nobody is watching, while still keeping the emotional intelligence to lead a team. You've got to be able to stand on your own 2 feet before you can carry anyone else.
Moving right along to Section 2, the neuroscience of autonomy.
If you've ever tried to sit down and tackle a massive project totally alone and felt this sudden, overwhelming wave of anxiety or a desperate urge to check your phone, don't worry, it's not a character flaw. It is pure neuroscience. Your brain naturally craves the easy path, which usually means seeking social validation. When you isolate yourself to focus, your brain temporarily spikes cortisol, the stress hormone. So working alone feels incredibly uncomfortable at first because your brain is essentially panicking over the lack of a social safety net. But here's the secret. If you push through that initial friction and actually complete the task, your brain releases a hit of dopamine. By achieving this without a crowd cheering you on, you literally reset your dopamine pathways. You build an intrinsic reward system that no longer needs external social praise to function. It's a total game changer.
This whole process acts as a training ground for emotional self-regulation. First, you just have to endure that initial isolation and that uncomfortable cortisol spike. Second, you push through and complete your solitary task. Third, alongside that dopamine, the mental silence and deep focus prompt your brain to release serotonin. This brings a profound sense of inner peace and emotional stability. Finally, this cycle builds lasting confidence. You start to realize, wow, I can survive and actually thrive entirely on my own. That drastically reduces the fear of isolation and strips away the anxiety we usually feel during major life transitions.
All right, let's hit Section 3, your independent scorecard.
Now it's time to diagnose exactly where you currently stand. I highly encourage you to pause this explainer right now, grab a pen and paper, because we are doing a crucial 10-question self-evaluation to measure your psychological resilience. Just answer yes or no to each of these and keep track of your score. Ready? Number 1. Can you start a difficult task without someone reminding you? 2. Do you genuinely enjoy periods of solitary work? 3. If your team or study group suddenly quits, do you continue working with that same intensity? 4. Can you put in a massive effort even if absolutely no one is there to praise you? And 5. Can you maintain deep focus for an hour without checking group chats or social media? Keep telling those yeses.
Let's look at the final 5. 6. Are you unafraid of making decisions entirely on your own? 7. Do you actively carve out daily solo time for your personal goals? 8. Can you mentally handle a failure without immediately needing someone to vent to? 9. Is your mood largely independent of how other people treat you today? And 10. Are you your own best friend?
What's absolutely fascinating about these questions is how they act like a mirror. They reveal the hidden emotional dependencies that might be holding you back from stepping into real leadership roles. Go ahead and tally up your total number of yes answers.
And here is the rubric. If you scored 8 to 10 yes answers, you've got strong mental power and a fantastic level of executive autonomy. You have the foundation of a top-tier leader. If you scored 5 to 7, it needs some improvement. You're definitely capable, but you're probably still a bit overly reliant on consensus. If you scored 0 to 4, you are highly dependent on external motivation to get things done. Take a screenshot of this visual scorecard right now. Save it, reflect on your baseline, and use this to track your growth over the next month.
Okay, moving to Section 4, Role-Specific Success Strategies. Let's break down how this foundational autonomy translates to specific stages in life. Because whether you're an ambitious young professional, a student, or going through a major career transition, self-reliance is the ultimate multiplier. Let's contrast students and business leaders for a second. For students, especially those prepping for super high-pressure competitive exams, building a habit of solitary study is absolutely non-negotiable. At the end of the day, when you sit in that exam hall, you are entirely alone. Independent focus cuts through the noise and trains you for that isolated pressure. For business leaders, that exact same solitude develops the courage to take calculated risks. Think about it. Every massive business empire started with a single, solitary idea. Solitude trains you to trust your gut and execute rapidly without waiting for a committee's approval.
But hey, this isn't just about climbing the corporate ladder. For homemakers, practicing intentional solitude builds deep emotional independence and the courage to learn new skills completely outside of family obligations. And for retirees or older individuals, mastering self-reliance offers immense emotional strength. It completely strips away that psychological fear of isolation and replaces it with a profound inner peace that just doesn't rely on constant social interaction to feel fulfilled.
Finally, Section 5, the 30-Day Independence Challenge.
Look, diagnosing the problem is great, but we need a prescription. I am challenging you to a strict 30-day regimen designed to physically rewire your brain for self-reliance, stabilize your emotions, and dramatically increase your individual concentration. Here is how this schedule builds out. On day 1, you start super small, just a 30-minute block of distraction-free, solitary work every single day. By day 10, add a daily self-reflection journal. This helps you process your emotions and track your intrinsic wins without broadcasting them to the world. By day 20, I want you to practice a brief visualization exercise. Just close your eyes before working and visualize yourself calmly, confidently dominating a complex task all by yourself. By day 30, this continuous habit will have firmly established a foundation of complete executive autonomy. To really crush this challenge, keep these mindfulness and motivation practices in mind. First, set tiny micro goals so you guarantee daily momentum. Second, actively praise your own minor wins. You literally have to become your own source of validation. Third, fiercely protect that daily 30-minute block of solo time. Treat it like the most critical meeting of your day. And fourth, stop comparing your solitary journey to the loud, highly curated team successes you see everyone else posting on social media. Your internal discipline is what will ultimately sustain you when the hype fades.
So, the crucial takeaway here is this. Working alone isn't loneliness. It's the process of making yourself stronger. Solitude is emotional training. When you remove the crutch of constant social support, you are forcing your mental muscles to adapt and grow. Ultimately, self-belief is the only thing that will drive your success when others doubt your potential or when they just aren't around to clap for you.
I want to wrap up this explainer by challenging you directly. Now that you've seen the science, the strategies, and the scorecard, where do you stand? Do you prefer working alone, or are you still leaning heavily on a team? Dive into the comments below, declare your preference, and share your independent score from our diagnostic test. Commit to the 30-day challenge today and start building the executive self-reliance that will elevate the rest of your career and your life. Catch you next time.